Maybe movies.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Chris, I could hear him talking.
What?
You didn't hear anything at all?
No.
I definitely heard Chris's voice.
Are you on drugs?
Not right now.
Okay. What did he say?
He said, I want Shane Smith to play me in a movie.
Right, either you're on drugs or he's on drugs.
He
Or I'm
must
having
be-
a total flashback from the 1990s.
Is this confirmation about the larval form theory?
It could be.
I don't know.
Shane was not on board with this particular theory. I rest my case. Hello and welcome back once again to Maybe Movies, up to episode 53, and we are about to launch into Act 1 of our new Imagineering of Fright Night.
Imagining.
We Imagineer in here. As always, I am joined by Sam Terry.
Hi there.
And Shane Smith. And, of course, well, you know who I am, possibly. I'm Max.
I don't even know who he is. I
No,
don't know why I'm here.
because we love your face.
Okay. Weirdo.
Just before we start, a quick shout out today for one of our new subscribers for a channel called Radical Productions, who are a channel that explore and try and heighten awareness of the plight of the homeless in the US.
Oh, well done there.
Really do go check them out. It's a really good cause. They tend to do a lot of talking to the homeless and getting them to go on camera and tell a bit about their story and their life and stuff. It's really worth checking out.
Oh, a slice of the real deal then.
Yeah.
That's good.
Today's episode, we said we're looking at Act 1 of Fright Lot, which will cover from the original film, the opening scene with Charlie and Amy in the bedroom, to Charlie accosting Peter Vincent in the street. Or at the studio, isn't it?
Should things play out the same way? But yes.
If we get there, I've found at least one potential breakpoint.
Okay.
But we'll come to that when we get there. I don't really have a lot to do in terms of setup, because it's all pretty much, they've just pretty much just arrived. The only note that I put down here is, because we're keeping the antique shop motif with them, do we either A, need to shift one of the scenes to being taking place in the antique shop, or do we want to say that they're turning, say, the ground floor of the house into an antique shop?
You think about it, the shops in Simon's Lot, in that area, they're all down on the street, really, aren't they?
Yeah, and this is supposed to be a sort of slightly larger town, isn't it?
Slightly larger.
Yeah. So I guess unless they find a big enough property that they can open up as a shop, maybe they can just move in, buy that, buy the building, move into the building, have the upstairs as
their home, and then
their home.
Okay.
how much do we think Straker and Barlow, Straker in particular, I suppose, is going to want to have that kind of risk of having people within there?
This is the thing, they have the house as well.
We want to keep that then. I'm more inclined to think that they would rather keep the business end of their operation separate from where he's sleeping.
Yeah, see, the thing is, he can sleep at the house.
Yeah.
But then there are some days where he can sleep in the shop.
In town, so that
Yes.
he's closer to the meat,
Yes.
Yeah.
as it were.
So, in a sense, you could start off in the house and then move into the town when things start happening.
Okay, I like that.
Oh.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That way, because when things are starting to happen and the people are starting to turn,
Mhm.
he's got better control over them instead of at the house.
Of course, and it's also because if as you say, if they've got a building with multiple floors,
Yeah.
he can then black out all the windows and then have the ones he's turned stay in town while he remains safe back at the house. Oh,
Yeah.
That's an early gold star.
Have a star.
Thank you very much.
And as you have the most stars at the moment, you get to be the keeper of the stars.
Yes.
Oh. Do you know what I'm going to do?
Right. You're not going to wear it. You're going to... keep a permanent record.
Nice.
Alrighty.
Something you mentioned last week, which was where this is supposed to be set. When I watched it, I tried to listen out for it and I couldn't hear it. So I looked it up. So originally Tom Holland had planned this to be in a place called Rancho Cornwallis.
That's definitely California somewhere, isn't it?
Which is supposed to be in Iowa.
Yeah. Right, okay.
There's an interview with him, and there is one point in the film where it is confirmed that the name of the town is Cornwallis, Iowa, which is when Peter Vincent gets his eviction letter. And the address is addressed to Peter Vincent, blah, 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 Cornwallis, Iowa.
Right, okay. Right, Iowa.
Yeah, when they mentioned that to Tom Holland, he was like, well, I must have approved it. Don't remember. Thanks for showing me that.
I can imagine that being a thing. I'm still looking at the wrong movie here.
One very quick note then about the opening that, there's enough evidence in the original film that supports Straker, or Charlie spotting Straker just carrying the coffin on his own into the thing, because at the same time, there's a news report on the TV about a man's body being found at the rail yard.
Yes.
So it's at night. Barlow's off doing that while Straker's moving the coffin into the...
Yes, so we are agreed that Barlow is arriving immediately in town in this version of things.
Yeah.
Good. That does make it a lot simpler.
Yeah.
Good.
And again, so that straight away he sees this guy carrying this massive coffin on his own, this old man.
Not frail, but obviously older, carrying a large coffin.
Although I suppose it'll be a little bit more tongue-in-cheek with Mom's comment about, oh yeah, I've heard he's quite good, he's quite handsome. What do you then have for your first scene? Or is there anything in particular that you wanted to just look at?
There's the scene, it's not long afterwards, which is just after we meet Evil and the whole conversation about pop quizzes, is the moment when Charlie arrives home and spots the young hooker trying to find the right address.
Yes.
Now, is that how Barlow's going to do his business? Or is he going to stalk people by night?
That could be his introduction, as his first victim. Or the second victim in town. Because Straker is obviously...
Because he hasn't got an invitation in town yet,
No, he hasn't had an invitation in town.
So he's inviting people to his house.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the things that I wasn't sure about, and it kind of feeds into the thing that I was looking at as a potential breakpoint, is the exception of Ralphie Glick, who Straker brings to him as his first kind of snack straight out of the box.
Yeah.
It's like neither of them are stupid enough to, what should we say, eat in.
I mean, with this being the first night of him being in town, and not actually being, not knowing the whereabouts or the land, as such, he would have to invite somebody in. She could be a hooker who has come from the next town over, because obviously...
that would explain why she doesn't know where she's going.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, they would invite someone in, and she'd go into the house, and then Charlie, obviously,
Yeah. It's obviously a bigger town where they are in Fright Night, because it's large enough to have its own TV station. Whereas Salem Slot, if I remember rightly, like in the film, the population sign said something just under 3,000. So I'm thinking more like 10 or 11,000. It's 2 or 3 times bigger. So there would be more people, and people wouldn't know each other quite as tightly.
Thank you, because there's another little bit that I wasn't sure about, but that might solve my break point, but we're not quite there yet. I imagine Straker being more meticulous when it comes to securing the basement. I don't think he's just going to paint over the windows. He would probably board them up.
Yeah, but boarding them up might be a bit suspect from the outsider's point of view.
It's going to be noisy work.
And he would have to do that before he moved.
In.
Yeah, because Barlow's moving in with him straight away,
so blacking out the windows might be the best option for the time being.
For the time being, and then once they've got more time, then...
Yeah.
In Charlie Brewster's town, they've just got standard basements. They don't have a root cellar that runs off. So they really are exposed to...
The bit when he's painting, he is down in the basement, isn't he? It's kind of, there's those windows at ground level that he's painting out.
Yeah, it's like the basement ends just above ground level sort of thing.
I mean, all I was thinking was, even if he's just got some planks of wood that he's just put over it, I just think Barlow is a lot more security conscious than it seems Andrew or Billy is.
You know what? That's fine. But as we said, somebody's going to hear that. Probably Charlie is going to hear the hammering.
And he's going to be very suspicious.
He's already a bit kind of sus because he says in the coffin, he's heard the scream from the first hooker.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, the first hooker is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first victim in town.
Yeah.
Which is obviously the guy who was on the news.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the next victim as well.
I mean, the first thing, and this is the point that I had, for me was a break point, is the second victim, which is the second girl.
The one when...
in the window.
Well, it would play out that way because Barlow's not that kind of vampire.
No.
Barlow is definitely the Nosferatu, the ugly motherfucker. So
yes.
And for her to be standing there in the window, looking all erotic, and Barlow just comes in and you just see him lift up his cape and her screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not going to expect that. He's not going to expect it.
So what you say? What do you think is going to happen then?
Well, that's the point. That's why I need to bring it up because I couldn't think, and for me it was. We need to replace that kind of quite sensual moment, which is the reveal for him, with something that will confirm his suspicions.
Unless it's Straker seducing the woman, and then Barlow just pops up behind you, just see the eyes.
Oh.
And then in the
you
eyes
see,
in the
I
shadow,
had a different take, but that's really sweet.
Yeah, so she's standing there. Straker's the one who's seducing her, like giving her all the platitudes and all that kind of stuff, and her being all erotic. And then out of nowhere, you just see a pair of piercing yellow eyes.
I think that's two, man. Fucking hell. Stealing it, man.
I think good. Yeah, you made me go alternatively, man. You're going to have another star there.
Yeah.
Just so I can say, I've said it. My idea was maybe instead of a sensual moment, because Charlie's fallen asleep in his chair, he's woken by her screaming and hammering at the window trying to escape as Barlow stalks behind her. But that's much better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It also works on so many levels because there's this kind of very weird dynamic in this all of a sudden, is that he suddenly... Again, it's just because that opening shot, it pans across and he's got the porn mag open on the floor and stuff, and then he looks up and he sees James Mason seducing this girl in her early 20s.
Yeah,
and so that freaks him out to begin with, and then you get that in the that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a
not
lovely
that
touch.
not that I watch too many horror movies or think about it.
No, that's great, buddy. That is great. That's really fantastic.
You know, that clears my my possible break point. So thank you very much.
I'll be here all week.
Well, yeah, you can't go anywhere else.
Be careful, you could be here for longer.
Be here forever
and ever and ever.
Anywho,
yes,
I'm gonna have a biscuit.
I think you deserve one. There's a lot more problem solving, I think, with this one than the other one, because Barlow is so much in the shadows until he just pops up and rips people to pieces.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get the visit to Charlie's house.
Yet.
Except, of course, if it's Straker who's coming in, because I wasn't sure, does Barlow need to be invited?
He has to be invited.
He has to be invited.
Okay. It's one of those ones that I think I'd probably appreciate it more and get more out of even the TV show if I've read the book. But I would like to, because there's some wonderful stuff in that. In particular in James... Sorry, it's a little bit of a tangent, but I just had to mention it. James Mason's performance. Overall, I mean, James Mason is brilliant anyway.
Bearing in mind that the book is very slightly different from the film.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. In particular, the scene that always gets me is after he's dispatched the guys off to go and collect him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this really odd moment that he has in the shop, and there's so many layers to his performance. It's like
is he eager? Is he afraid? What is he?
Yeah, there's relief that he's done his thing. There's trepidation. Are they going to do their job properly? Will everything go off without a hitch?
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, there's fear. Is that fear of Barlow? Is there regret there? Is there moments in there that he's thinking about his life before he kind of had yoked himself to a master? There's so much going on in that.
Could he be fearing the wrath of Barlow if all goes wrong?
Yeah.
Yes. If you watch those first few scenes with Straker especially, he's very fearful. It's like he's got to get everything exactly right. Mm-hmm. He's got to get it exactly right, or else. I don't think we're going to get Barlow an invitation into Charlie's house.
But Straker might.
Straker might. And as a minion, he doesn't actually need an invitation anyway, but he can still turn up and be threatening.
Yeah.
Yes, and James Mason can be very threatening.
Yeah. Do you think Judy would be quite as doe-eyed at Straker as she was at Jerry?
She might be. She might see something in an older man that she likes.
Oh?
And
Yeah.
James Mason's voice.
Oh, yeah, he does have a very commanding voice.
Something almost romantic about him as well. His voice, the way he acts, his mannerisms. You know, it's like almost like he could be gentle, but also very menacing and fearful at the same time.
Delicate.
Yeah.
There's something delicate about his speech.
Delicate and articulate.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
That scene would work then just as well with Straker.
But
can
the confrontation that happens afterwards happen?
Again, this is another problem I had, is because if Barlow does come into the house, he's not going to hang around. He will probably just kill Mum.
But Mum will be working night shift.
No, that's not till the next night.
Straker could do that, but not necessarily Barlow. Because obviously...
We know Straker's strong enough.
Yeah, he'd be able to do it.
Yeah, he would be able to do all of the same threats.
Yeah. But it's like, will Charlie have the sense to impale his hand with a pencil?
And it wouldn't do anything because he's not a vampire.
Yeah.
So therefore we then need to find another way for him to drive Straker off.
Unless he picks up a blade and stabs him.
Well, no, maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Maybe we have to roll this back a couple of scenes. Maybe Charlie thinks Straker is the vampire.
Ah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
He's behaved threateningly.
Yeah, so when he's actually...
The spirits are speaking again.
Kris, can you hear us? I'll take that as a yes.
Speak a little louder.
Where are you?
Are you strobing?
You were saying we need to roll back a couple of scenes.
We need to play this like Charlie. He sees Straker wandering in with the coffin. He hears the hammering in the early hours of the day.
I've got it.
He sees him seducing the girl.
No, I've got it. I know how we do this. Thank you. That scene in the window, as you say, he sees James Mason being seductive with the girl. James Mason steps out of frame into the shadows. Then you get the yellow eyes, and Barlow comes in. So he never sees Straker and Barlow at the same time. So
yes.
So he thinks it's an illusion that he's put up, and then when he comes back out of the shadow, that Barlow and Straker are the same person.
Yep. Okay, there you go.
Therefore, it would make him think that
it
Straker is the
would.
vampire.
Yeah, it would.
Okay, yes. So that would work then.
Do
So
you want a star for that?
well, again, that's up to you.
I'm going to just point out one thing.
Hmm?
You should have a star for that, by the way.
Yeah.
I am just going to however, point out one thing.
Hmm.
The scene with Detective Lennox.
Yeah.
I forgot that when he goes to the cops, he's before Jerry comes round to meet his mother.
Okay.
So how do we deal with this?
Well, it's the same because he never meets Jerry, does he? He only meets Billy, and when he asks him, he says he's out on business.
What I mean is if he turns up during the day with the detective, who's he going to meet? He's going to meet Straker.
Oh, I see what you mean.
That's the one problem. Unless we rearrange events so that maybe he waits until after Straker comes round.
Maybe then when they arrive, he says, I'll just come in. And the room that he sees them in is all the curtains are closed. There's just the lights on in there. So there's never any direct sunlight.
Yes.
He's in the middle of working on something. Oh, yeah, I can't leave this. Oh, see yourselves out.
Charlie goes to open one of the curtains or something like that, and Straker will be like, no, could you please leave that? I'm sorry, I'm very particular about these things.
Yes.
Let's just give it a few red herring, gaslight it a little. Which means that this whole time, Charlie's been working on the assumption that Straker is the vampire.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. It's interesting.
It's also quite nice as well because it still manages to capture that element in Salem's Lot that you don't see Barlow until a good sort of almost halfway through the thing itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a lovely red herring. This brings us back up to where we were. We get the scene with Straker when he breaks into the house.
Yes.
And they have the fight, which again, strength-wise, we know that Straker is that strong.
Yeah, he
They
can burst
fling
out
him
the
around the
cupboard,
room.
push him through the window.
It's just how is he going to get rid of him?
I mean, because technically the mother could still wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And she could shout. And she could turn around, obviously, what's that noise? Why can't I get out of my room?
Yeah, but obviously you won't get the immediate big physical transformation when he spins round and his hands go all spindly and shit. But he'd still react violently, and then Charlie's mum would go, "Charlie?"
Yeah.
And then he'd, like he does in the film. Because he does have that, "I want to kill you, but...
do I kill her as well?"
Yeah.
You know.
How much trouble do I want to cause?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that moment, then, so maybe just throw in a line. Charlie shouts to my mum, "Call the cops!" She's got a phone next to her bed. That might be enough for him to go, "Yeah, no, I need to go." Something as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
If we throw in an extra bit where the cops do turn up, well, there's nothing here. Oh, he's just a lad. He's just trashed his room. They can't prove anything.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things on the desk got broken.
Mm-hmm.
The window didn't get broken. They just ripped the nails out where he'd nailed it shut. The only thing that got broken was the cupboard door, which could easily be like, "Oh, were you practicing karate in the room, kid?"
Which brings us pretty much up to the end of the act.
It pretty much does.
Some of those other scenes, so like with Amy and Evil in the diner, you may be just in the background, some of the extras just look a bit pale. A little bit wan.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
This is going to escalate far more than it does in the original film.
Of course it does, yes.
But just see that in there now.
But maybe not so soon, not too many people. You've got to think about how long he's been there.
Well, it's
only a day or so. It's one person at most in the background. Looks a bit ill.
Yeah.
Looks a bit ill, looking a bit, sitting over his coffee.
It's one for the fans, It's once you watched it after like 20 years, you might spot, "Oh my God, I never noticed that before."
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that does, as I say, bring us up to the end. One breakpoint avoided.
So far.
Yes. We will be back, as always, in a couple of days, when we'll be picking up with Act 2 of Fright Lot. And I, for one, will be very relieved, because I wasn't sure whether it was going to end halfway through this one. Until then, have a good couple of days. We'll see you on Friday. Take care. Bye.
As always, guys, TTFN.
Ba 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 ba.